Simon, should we be concerned about Jack Viney, or is he on track to play this week?
Yeah, look, he's on track to play this week. He's been working through his protocols. Obviously, with the protocols, it's 12 days minimum. Obviously, it's very individualised. It's taken a little bit longer to work his way through those protocols, but everything so far that we've seen, he's tracking towards playing this week, which is exciting for our footy club again.
In the year that Charlie's had, another setback for him, how's he treating this one emotionally?
Yeah, look, shattered for Charlie. You know, he's done so much work, obviously from the Achilles to work his way back after missing 12 months out, and now to have a fractured scapula. It's pretty disappointing for Charlie because he's been such a great contributor. In the last 4 to 6 weeks within the AFL team, he's been a big part of helping us in many areas of our footy team, and he's going to be missed, but we'll get him back at the right time of the year.
Does it sit right with you that he's out a month and Callum Mills has copped 1 week?
Yeah, look, it wasn't that incident. So, we need to be clear on that. It was an incident that was, probably 30 seconds to a minute before that, when the ball rolled out of bounds. So, we shouldn't relate it to that incident.
Perfect. In terms of Alice Springs and the trip, what's the hot tip to winning at Alice Springs?
Yeah, look, we've been going up there for a decade now, and we love getting up there. We really embrace the community. It's a great place to go and play footy. It's something that we've really embraced as a footy club over a long period of time. We've done so much work in the community in terms of building some programs within the community of Alice Springs, and we just want to go up there and showcase our game. We know the challenge of playing up there against St Kilda and what the challenges they bring to the game, and we're looking forward to playing at our best.
Who makes way for Viney if he's healthy?
Yeah, look, we'll work our way through that. Still very early in the week, so we've got to make sure that we get through a couple of really big training sessions leading up to this week's game. But clearly Jack, if he passes through everything and gets through this week, he's going to be in the team. He's our vice captain and someone that we value incredibly highly. So we can't wait to get him back into the team, but we'll work through what selection looks like later in the week.
How's Max Gawn still doing this? How's he keep defying age at 33?
Yeah, look, I think what you're seeing is someone that's just the master of his craft. He's worked, for 13 years on just being a great ruckman, and he's really focused on what that looks like, both from a ruck perspective, but also from an aerial perspective. And what we're seeing is a guy that's incredibly professional. He looks after himself incredibly well, and he's playing to a really high level. And it's kudos to him to keep doing what he's doing.
Should we start treating players differently, do you feel? Because there's a few players around the league at the moment who are, you'd think they'd be done by 30, 31. Max is 33. There's other players across the league who are playing well at 34, 35. Will that change things in the future of how clubs view players when they enter their 30s?
I think you've already seen that shift taking place. Clearly players are playing for a little bit longer, and back in the day, it was probably once you got to 30, you were starting to think about the end of your career, and clubs were similar, in terms of how they looked at their players. But right now, it comes down to an individualised thing, and you're seeing right across the competition, whether it be Pendlebury, Sidebottom, Gawn, a whole range of different guys that are mid-30s playing some exceptional footy, and clubs are certainly taking note of that. Jake Melksham for us, he seems to be getting better the older he gets, and that experience you just can't buy. So we love having those type of guys in our team.
There's a long quarter to end the match. Are AFL quarters too long?
Yeah, it was a bit of an anomaly. I must admit, I did look at the scoreboard and saw 39 minutes on the clock. They're not too long. I actually enjoy the fact that we certainly take the game to being a real battle of endurance as well. I think that's one of the great things about our game. Clearly, we don't want the game going 39, 40 minutes in a quarter, but I don't think that's happening too often.
So you wouldn't like to see a shift in sort of seeing 18-minute quarters perhaps, or shorter quarters in the future, however minutes it may be?
Not at the moment. Look, I love the game the way it is, and I think sometimes things just take some time to settle. I'm sure the powers to be are looking into all those things about how we make our game better. I'll move with and adapt with that when the time comes, but right now I think the game's in great shape.
I don't think Melbourne's had a mid-season draft pick for one in the last 4 years. I might be wrong with that. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, look, we're really healthy at the moment. We had some injuries in our pre-season, and we were able to get some guys right at the back end of the SSP in Jack Henderson and Jai Cully. So we were able to top up our list before the season started. So right now we're incredibly healthy. So at this stage we won't have a pick, and we haven't got that available. But I think it's a great mechanism. I think it's great for people that are playing, footy at the moment, that get their opportunity and dream to play AFL footy. And I'm sure if we had a selection available, that we'd be taking someone across the land at the moment.
Post-match, you said Christian Salem's underrated. Is that our fault? Should we be pumping him up a little bit more?
Oh, look, I think he's right back to his best footy. I think this is the best footy he's played in the last 3 years. And he's someone that we value incredibly highly. He's down to power of work to get his body and his fitness to a level. He's had some interruptions in the last few seasons, but he's someone that we can not only play in the back line, but put through the middle at times. And on the weekend, we saw him go through the middle of the ground, which was great for us. And having a player like Salo and the ball use that he provides us that back to his best is something that we've been missing.
When's the trip to Alice Springs? Is it Friday? You're making the trip up. The Sainers, have you had a chance to look at them yet? Is it a bit early in the week, or what do you make of Ross Lyon's men?
Yeah, look, I think we're well aware of Ross Lyon coach teams and St Kilda. They're hard to play against. That's one thing that when you play St Kilda and you play Ross coach teams, that they're difficult to play against, and that's what we'll be preparing for. They defend really high. They're strong in the contest and they give great effort, and that's what we'll prepare for. And we've got to focus on us and how we get better. Because we've still got a lot of work to do. Although some of the parts of our game have shifted and the momentum of the season has shifted for us, we've got a lot of work to do still to continue to improve, and that's our focus as well.
I know I spoke about quarters being shorter potentially. I mean, would you like to see shorter seasons, longer seasons? Are you comfortable with how the fixture is at the moment?
Yeah, look, as I said, I'm comfortable where the game's at. I think right now what you're seeing a great competition, you're seeing a relatively even competition, and you're seeing some really exciting games. And I think when you're seeing that, the game's in a pretty good place.
Want more content? Click on the videos below and keep the momentum going. I'll catch you in the next one.